My name's Colleen McQuillan. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Slavic Languages and Literatures. I'm also serving as chair of the department. My favorite thing about USC is the people. I really enjoy the energy that I feel from my students in the classroom. I enjoy the dynamism of the intellectual community I have with my colleagues and graduate students. So I think the diversity of students we have here really leads to lively conversations, people drawing on their own experiences and their different educational backgrounds. It can really lead to some inspiring conversations. We have what I would call a medium-sized department. We have 7 full-time faculty and 14 graduate students at different levels of their study. So that is significant. We have at this point a faculty member who is teaching Polish language and culture courses. So for that reason, we are able to honorably call ourselves a Slavic department. We're not just a Russian department. But even within our Russian program, we're aspiring to make it more about Russophone cultures. And having that be defined not through geographic national borders, right? So to think beyond the Russian Federation and talk about Russian language communities living in countries perhaps of the former Soviet Union, but also diaspora communities around the world. Our undergraduate Russian language courses are taught by graduate students who are under the supervision of our Russian language program director. We believe it's important to support the graduate students by meeting with them regularly, helping them plan their courses, set educational objectives, but also to give them a little bit of freedom to experiment with bringing in either realia into the classroom to designing innovative learning opportunities. So that's primarily where undergraduates and graduates encounter one another, but then we also try to build in some less formal opportunities, whether it's converse about daily life, as during our Russian Conversation Hour, which is a weekly meeting, or through film screenings, right, where there might be discussion afterwards relating specifically to the film. We have a number of events that the department sponsors and co-sponsors. We, for instance, this spring partnered with the International Relations Program to bring a journalist who focuses on LGBTQ plus activism to campus, and she spoke to Professor Steve Svirdlow's students in the course on human rights. And so this was a wonderful example of how somebody who is coming from a Russian language culture can also speak to students interested in a topic that is more expansive, like human rights. So students who are studying Russian are oftentimes thinking about the professional applications, and the most conspicuous way for them to do that these days is to think about international relations. So several students have been double majors in political science, international relations, and Russian, and specifically in cybersecurity and Russian. We've had other students studying Russian who want to learn more about, let's say, Russian art history. So they double major in Russian and art history. Students who have a second major that has nothing to do with Russian. They just love it and decide to pursue it out of this passion. So mathematics and Russian. We are hoping to partner with the Global Studies major, which is based in anthropology and political science, to offer students another opportunity for applying their knowledge of our part of the world to bigger problems, thinking about the ways in which migration, right, affects populations. So this is a real problem in light of Russia's war in Ukraine, right? So giving students tools to think critically about that is very important. We're also happy to offer a major in Central European Studies, which involves studying the Russian language and then choosing either German language or Polish language and taking courses in history and political science, international relations. Studying Russian can complement a whole array of scholarly and academic experiences. So for a student to come take with us Russian or Polish or even German doesn't mean that one has to devote one's entire college experience to it, become a major or a minor, although we of course love that too. But students can gain really important skills by exposing themselves to this different part of the world, and skills that involve thinking with empathy, thinking critically about how to evaluate information sources. This is very important in dealing with the former Soviet Union and the history there. So, we think about, how to help students in this era of informational abundance when it comes time to appraise the credibility of sources. Learning a language is about much more than mastering the mechanical components of grammar and vocabulary. It's about becoming familiar with cultural practices, cultural beliefs. It's about learning how to interact with people who come from a very different background. What we offer is students the ability to gain cultural competency, and this makes students effective in many different arenas. So political science, international relations, of course, but even just as human beings who still have to operate in a political workplace, students become more attuned to how to handle difference, how to imagine somebody else's perspective on difficult questions. And I think that this capacity to instill a sense of humanity is really what we offer. We do this by having small classes, and this gives students an opportunity to get to know one another. And a lot of people end up feeling like, well, this is kind of a family away from their family. Right? So the human component is still very real and very important to what we do.